The government, the FBI, was working with the Ku Klux Klan to enact violence and death upon civil rights activists. I'm going to repeat that for you. The government, specifically the FBI, the United States government, was working directly with the Ku Klux Klan to enact violence and death upon civil rights leaders and activists.
My credit card number?
Yes.
Wonderful. Just one more thing. The abortions will be done specifically for the black community abortions.
I will mark it in such a way that definitely it will.
Oh, great. On a black baby.
Yes.
Thank you. Great.
The exact amount we charge right now is $450 for an abortion.
Okay, $450.
And we can definitely designate it for an African American.
Wonderful. Okay, and if I want to make to fund, because this is a if I wanted to help fund multiple abortions, would you also specify that this can be done for a specific group? Well, I'm really excited, because I really face trouble with affirmative action. I don't want my kids to be disadvantaged, against blacks in college, and the less blacks out there, the better. So.
Yeah, it's a strange time for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. My extension is 304.
The fact that this nothing ass bitch said this is a strange time, in other words, that black people are actually advancing. That's strange. Ain't that some shit?
History of the COINTELPRO program, or the Counterintelligence Program. The COINTELPRO program was established in the 1950s by J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. The program was created to infiltrate, monitor, disrupt social and political movements, to discredit black leaders, create tension and extreme paranoia. On the night of the Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight on March 8, 1971, civil rights activists Bonnie and John Raines, along with Keith Forsyth, led by William Davidon, a physics professor, successfully broke into an FBI facility in Media, Pennsylvania, getting their hands on official FBI documents, one of those documents being the COINTELPRO program. There was also documented surveillance of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and a long list of others' liberation movements. 80% of the targets were Black Panther members, which led to the death of over 24 Panther members.
Discussed back in the hotel room. Nothing, just friends, just like cruise ship and Kennedy and everybody. When the people, all of the politicians of all other white races come together, and they, although they believe different, they think different, whites can come together and discuss the common cause. But whenever a few of us come together, the world is shook up. And I say, whatever went back there, it's our business.
Reverend King, you agree? Oh, yes. We had a very good discussion on many matters. And, of course, these are not things that we would discuss here, but we do have common problems and common concerns. And above all, as Muhammad Ali has just said, we are all victims of the same system of oppression. And even though we may have different religious beliefs, this does not at all bring about a difference in terms of our concern.
Still brothers.
Do you share the same, one more question, do you share the same concern that Muhammad has for his draft status?
Oh, I certainly do. My views on the draft are very clear. I'm against it.
Here's what he had to say about the way Dr. Martin Luther King was actually killed.
Wow. He wasn't killed from the bullet that hit him on the balcony. He was taken to the St. Joseph's Hospital, and he was killed in the emergency room of St. Joseph's Hospital by the chief of neurosurgery, Dr. Breed Bland, who came in when they were all working on him in the emergency room, and he said, "Get out of here, let that die." And as they moved out of the room, the last one out was a surgical nurse, Lula Mae Shelby. And when she heard them gathering up spit in their lungs to spit on Martin's body lying on a bed there, then she saw Dr. Bland take the catheters out of Martin's body and take the pillow from under his head and put it over his face and suffocate him. And That's how Martin King died. That's how he was really assassinated. Now, he might have died anyway from the bullet wounds, but he didn't. He was still alive and still breathing. The chief neurosurgeon, he intervened and he made sure that death would result.
Wow. Right? My jaw was on the floor. Now, Dr. Pepper knows this because the son of the nurse, Lula Mae Shelby, who died, but before she died told her family, the son of this nurse told Dr. Pepper under oath. And when Dr. Pepper confronted a member of the Dixie Mafia, he said, yes, this happened, and actually that the chief of surgery was their family doctor, and that 3 weeks before the assassination, he visited them and said, hey, if the bullet doesn't kill him, make sure he goes to St. Joseph's, because we will make sure that he dies. Now, let's talk about this case, okay? This was a civil suit in 1999 where Pepper represented the King family, and that really made the family feel like they had closure, and like I said, it was the only trial ever held. The Memphis jury in this case decided that local, state, and federal governments were liable for King's death, and that this was a real conspiracy, a conspiracy between the U.S. military, the Memphis PD, and Dixie Mafia, these crime figures in Memphis, Tennessee.
This is just for the audience.
Right.
This is a civil case that was brought, much like the O.J. case.
Right,
where they couldn't find him guilty here, but finally when a civil jury heard it, they came out with a
It was the only trial, yes, and there was 30 days of trial, and over 70 witnesses were heard. And Dr. Pepper told me earlier today that it took the jury less than an hour to decide after these 30 days
that this was a true conspiracy.
Correct.
Where others may have been involved.
Correct.
Other than the person who was accused.
And that James Earl Ray was the fall man, and that he was unwittingly, unknowingly part of this conspiracy. And the real shooter, I gotta say this, even though we can't get to the whole story, was Frank Strouser. He was a Memphis police officer, the best shot in the Memphis PD, and he was the one who actually fired the fatal shot.
Why do the elites care so much to control the celebrities? Okay, this should be self-explanatory, but it's one thing that the government really hates. Somebody with a lot of influence, definitely if they're not being controlled. But why is that? First, you gotta ask yourself, why is the government here? If you break down the word government, it literally means to control or govern your mentality. Meaning they are basically here to program you to fall in line with their plans for society. And getting deeper, meaning they don't want you to think for yourself. And one of their jobs is to prevent the rise of a messiah, unless they create them, which is why they usually take out our leaders. And even though I strongly believe that Malcolm X and MLK were controlled op, I also believe that during the final years of their life, they were becoming aware that they were being used, which is why MLK felt that he integrated us into a burning building, and why Malcolm X started to study and expose the truths about Egypt. Not only that, Malcolm X thought it was best to segregate as well. But how could the rise of a messiah even be possible? Easy, influence. So these higher up elites want to make sure that anyone with a large amount of influence is under their control. Because if not, they could have the power to reprogram the minds of the masses and tell them the truth. For example, if LeBron really wanted to, he could change the world simply by telling everybody that the NBA is scripted and that it's a distraction. He could also buy up a lot of land and free a lot of people. But I'm sorry to tell you, but LeBron is controlled opposition, along with a bunch of other celebrities. So this is why you have to choose a door and take oaths once you get to a certain level. Because they want to make sure that if you do ever choose to flip on the system, they can have something to hold over your head. If you decide to be somebody like my man Cat Williams and not go against your morals, remember, you won't have any industry help. All that push you was getting before gonna start to disappear, because then you wouldn't be in their hands. So they want to make sure that you don't gain too much influence to bring awareness about what's really going on. Please do your research. I know this can be hard to believe, but this is why they care so much. They don't want you thinking for yourself, and they want you to be stuck in this money matrix.
For decades, the FBI collected information about the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. They were using false phone calls, surveillance, infiltration, everything that they wanted, highly placed sources, tracking her ongoings. And Franklin's FBI file, it's some 270 pages long, peppered with phrases like black extremist, pro-communist, hate America radical, radical violence, and militant black power, and overflowing with suspicion about the singer, her work, and the other activist and entertainer with whom she spent time. Now, the FBI monitored Franklin's interactions with other civil rights leaders. Franklin's work on behalf of civil rights and her association with Martin Luther King Jr., Angela Davis, and other social justice revolutionaries became a preoccupation of the FBI, with the singer's addresses, phone numbers, and activities regularly tracked by agents, according to the documents obtained by Rolling Stone. Now, among those documents that were obtained is a 1968 document discussing funeral plans for MLK Jr., calling it a racial situation. It further notes Sammy Davis Jr., which is Aretha Franklin of this group. Some have supported militant black power concepts. Performance at MLK Memorial by these prominent entertainers would provide emotional spark which could ignite racial disturbance in this area. But of course, the FBI could find no evidence of Aretha Franklin being an extremist, probably because she was a singer and she happened to also be a black woman who liked to use her voice to help elevate black people given the oppressions in our society. Yeah, exactly. This also per Rolling Stone. The FBI, the agency, also tried and failed to connect Franklin to the Black Liberation Army and other so-called radical movements. In one case, the FBI detailed her 1971 contract with Atlantic Records just in case agents could link Franklin's business dealings to the Black Panther Party. Despite the 4 decades of surveillance and hundreds of pages of notes, the Bureau ultimately never discovered anything linking Queen of Soul to any type of extremist or radical activities. Yeah, the FBI was tracking a singer, a woman. She's acted in a few movies, but come on. She was an entertainer, but she happened to be a black woman. And the agenda of the FBI monitoring black celebrities, that is nothing new. It's just now we're learning the depth of it. So also this, from the very early days of the civil rights movement and through today, the government has been known to keep tabs on prominent black leaders, entertainers and activists, and scores of other celebrities involved in the anti-war of social or social justice movements, or whom J. Edgar Hoover thought it might be beneficial to collect dirt about. Yeah, that's right. We couldn't just live our lives. The thought that we might actually rise up and fight against the system, rise up and fight against oppression, even if it's just in terms of fighting in a way that is nonviolent, speaking up, rising up, thinking better of ourselves and knowing what our worth is and refusing to take less. And that was something that was considered an affront to the FBI and also our government. Yes, this is how they treated black people, and this is also how they continue to treat black people. Because if you think they're not still monitoring, you're out of your mind.
Cat Williams knows about COINTELPRO.
They're waiting on that one person.
But they are too, though.
Who's that?
The other side is far more diligent about looking for that Messiah than we are, because they know where to look. You probably wonder, why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them? You would think if you didn't like something, why would you be paying attention to it? I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
What's the answer?
The answer is the liar knows what lie he told. You see what I'm saying? So even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer is over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here. Me, the one that tricked, because I know this is the right answer. Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity. That's just why they chopped those noses off of the Pharaoh and the Sphinx in Egypt in the first place, is because without this nose, we can tell you this is whoever it is. But with that nigger nose, it can only be niggas. Why would somebody vandalize a whole face and only vandalize one part? Nobody wanted to knock an eye off or take an ear off or no chins missing. No, just the nose. Because it's a brand. It's a brand.
Let me repeat this. To this day, the FBI does not know where the founder of the Nation of Islam came from before 1930 or where he went after 1934.
I would not say the white man is a descendant of Satan, because that would be wrong. We didn't have a Satan before white man. So the white man is Satan himself.
Hamid Speed, Worldwide News. Hamid Speed. Hamid Speed. Say that. Hamid Speed.
We cannot have freedom as long as the white man is ruling. What kind of freedom can we have if the white man is the president of this country and the Senate is the white and the governors of all states is white and the court is ruled by white? What can we say of us in the way of freedom in a country like